Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Kiddushin daf Nun Vav Nu, and we're going to be starting on Nun Hamid Bay's second line from the bottom. Taraban, Ein loikchin behema b'mais meiser sheni. A person is not allowed to purchase a animal with the money of meiser sheni. Now, what's the problem with that? So Rashi points out immediately, it's chutz l'Yerushalayim, that if you have produce and it's very heavy, so the din is you could be pointed onto money, but that's only chutz Yerushalayim. You cannot do this pidyon once you're in Yerushalayim because the whole purpose is because it's heavy. But you cannot buy an animal with this money outside of Yerushalayim. So again, it has to be that money's brought into Yerushalayim and then it's done. Why not? And this is actually right out of the gate, TB23. Two Pirushim Rashi, says Rashi, that it says clearly you're supposed to have the money in your hands when you go to Yerushalayim, and not an animal. Another practical reason, if you're buying an animal as a carbon, so then the problem is that it's going to get weak because it's traveling to Yerushalayim, this animal. Better that you should purchase an animal in Yerushalayim. So that's how we're able to answer that. Okay. So now we understand why, again, you're not allowed to do that. But let's continue now, Nun Vav Amud Aleph. But let's say you did. You weren't supposed to purchase an animal with Meiser Sheni money outside of Yerushalayim. What if you did? B'shoigeg. So if you did it, b'shoigeg, you did know that you weren't supposed to do that. So in that case, yachsru damim limkaiman. The money goes back to its place. Says Rashi, kaifen hamoicher. We force the seller of this animal lahachser hadamim to return the money. The mekach taisu. This transaction of you purchasing an animal outside of Yerushalayim with this money was a mistake. The il yada. If he would have known his Meiser Sheni, he wouldn't have bought it. Right? He wouldn't have allowed this transaction to take place. He didn't realize that this is what the whole deal was. So therefore, it was b'shoigeg, the money goes back. The whole transaction is null and void. B'mezid ta'ale, when it comes to, it was b'mezid, we say you can bring it up, and you can eat it in Yerushalayim, as it says in the pasuk El Hamakom Asher Yivchar. So we find b'shoigeg it's not good, but mezid kind of works. So Rabbi Yehuda. So on this, Rabbi Yehuda says b'medivorim. When do I say? This is referring to on b'mezid that tal v'teachel b'makom is b'meschavin is where you had the intention. This is talking about again b'mezid v'lakach tchila l'shem shlomim, and it was purchased originally for the sake of a carbon, right? For the sake of a shlomim. But let's say your whole intention was you're going to give Meiser Sheni, and now you purchase an animal, but you wanted this new animal to be mamish like chulin, not as a carbon. Bein shayging, bein mezi yaksu damim kaiman. So the only time that it's returned, and we said it's returned b'shoigeg, but B'mezid is not returned, but it's only not returned is if you did this B'mezid, but at least your intention was for it to become a carbon, to be brought as a shlomim. But if your intention was to go to chulin, so he said it's a mekach tais. So again, whether you realized that this was Meiser Sheni money or not, whether it was B'shegr or B'mezid, since your kavana was for a chulin animal, it is returned. So the Gemara says v'anan tanan. But that's Rabbi Yehuda. That's what Rabbi Yehuda said. Now, didn't we learn that Rabbi Yehuda Omer b'mezid kiddush? He holds, but if it was done b'mezid, it is mischalel. It is good. So why don't we say by a woman that it's not a good kiddushin, and she should bring the money back, just like in the case of the moicher? So when the case of the moicher, we're saying, oh, it was b'mezid, he was mischaven for it to go to chulin, so then it's the transaction is not good. So why don't we say this? Rabbi Yehuda say the same thing when it comes to Kiddushin. So that's the Gemara's kasha. Doesn't make any sense. So because Rashi says, It's like a kanas to the seller. So Rabbi Lezer ishi yodash in mois meiser shein mischalin al yada. The reason is, the Rabbi Lezer explains, that a woman knows, and there's no kanas over here, because a woman knows that when she receives this, she knows just because she got it, that it's not automatically going to become chulin money. And she knows that. Therefore, the oil of Achalti Yerushalayim, her intention is not going to bring it to Yerushalayim. Says Rashi, Masnisa leika lemiknesei klal. Deisha das. There's no kanas because the woman knows what she's doing. V'lo nischavna lohitzil chulin. Our mission is not a case where the intention was for this money to become chulin, because she understands that that's not going to be happening. So what is she intending? She's going to accept it, and she's going to bring it to Yerushalayim and eat it with kedusha. And therefore, that's the reason why it's good Kiddushin. However, says Rashi, Abel Moicher, when it comes to the sale above, he knows that money could transfer to an animal. And therefore, the monies become like chulin. That his intention was actually to eat it in his city. So, if in fact it's true that the kedusha really mikar din should go on to this animal, so then you're over lifnei iver, because you know this person, because he thought it was going to go to chulin, this person is actually potentially going to be eating this animal of kedusha outside of Yerushalayim, and therefore we kanas the moicher. Maskav Rabbi Yirmiyah Bahari behema tameya. When it comes to a non-kosher animal, or avadim v'karkais. Now, again, if you would take your money and purchase a slave, or again, a non-kosher animal, a pig, everyone knows that the kedusha is not going to go into a pig, utnan, and therefore, if that's the case, it should be similar to the case of Kiddushin, that the person is going to know, and therefore they'll take that money to Yerushalayim. Tanan, ein loicha behema tamei avadim v'karkos b'mois meiser sheni. You can't do it. Even if Yerushalayim, so the question is, why not? If everyone knows that this you can't be poided, and therefore they're going to bring it to Yerushalayim, so then what's the whole issue? Here we're talking about a special situation. We're talking about a woman who is knowledgeable, that she knows the laws. Says Rashi, the she'ein meiser she'ein mischal ayidei kiddusheha. The oil of achaltam, we're talking dafka in our Mishnah, where this woman is knowledgeable. And because it's a davar yadua, she's a knowledgeable person, she knows that she's going to bring she knows that the money is not mischalel, just because the Kiddushin was done. She's going to take that money and bring it to Yerushalayim. And that's why it's a good Kiddushin. And there's no issue. We're not going to say that there's a kanas or anything, because she's actually going to do it. Says Rashi, Abel Stam Moicher, a regular seller, Lo Yada. He doesn't know Shein Meisim Mischal Behema Tameya. He doesn't even know that it's not going to be Mischal onto the non-kosher animal. So the one who sells this non-kosher animal, he doesn't know the laws. So we kanas the Loikeach, not the Moicher. In this case, we're actually going to kanas the buyer. Because now that you own this animal, so we say that we're concerned, again, of the lack of knowledge of this moicher. The moicher actually is now holding on to this money, which still is kedusha. And now you purchase a non-kosher animal. Obviously, that money, the kedusha, wasn't transferred onto this non-kosher animal. But we still say that we're going to kanas l'ikeach and say it's not a good transaction. Because, again, that should not have taken place. Okay, so question 11. Hamakdish b'maiser sheni, Rabbi Yehuda Eimer b'mezid kiddush. Madua lo kansinan hacha, why don't we kanas, when it comes to Kiddushin, kidde kansinan b'maitzi mois maiser al behema tameya debatal amekach. However, we say it's not a good sale. So he said the reason is Beisha Chaver Askinon. We're talking about a knowledgeable woman. To Yoidas, she knows she in Meiser Shem Mischal El Kedusha. She's going to bring that Meiser Shem to Yerushalayim. So therefore, it's not a problem. And there's no reason to kanas anyone, because she knows and she's going to bring it, and that's fine. But Stam Meicher, when it comes to a regular seller, in Yodeh Shemois of Hektish, He doesn't even know that the money's kadosh. Therefore, the kanas is that it goes back to its original place, which is similar. Okay, let's hold off on that. Okay, that was question 11. Okay, Omer Mar im lokach yochel kenegdan. So if let's say let's go back and understand this whole case. So it says, b'mezid. So the very top says, if let's say you took meiser sheni and you bought a behema with it. So he said b'shogeg, it's a mekach tos. B'mezid talvia tiachol b'makom. So you can eat it in your shalayim. That's only if the kavana was for it to remain kaddish. If the kavana was for it to become chulin, so then there's a kanas, and we say even b'mezid has to be returned. Okay, so on this, Omer Mar im lakach yochel kenegdan. So it says you can eat in its opposite it. Why don't we say you just return the money? So Omer Shmuel on Nun Vav and Beis, we're talking about a case kishabarach, where the seller ran away and the money is still in his hands. But time of the barach, the reason is because he ran away. Halo barach, and let's say he did not run away, then kansina l'moicher, then we would kanas the seller. Why don't we kanas the buyer? So our answer is a famous answer. Lav achbor ganav el choyer ganav. It's not the mouse that's the thief, but it's the hole. In other words, the opportunity to be able to put it somewhere. So too the moicher. If there was no moicher, then the lekech wouldn't have done anything wrong. So you can say the other way around. Ve'ilu achbora choyer mai ka'avid. If there's no mouse, then who cares about the hole, right? So obviously you need both parties. It takes two to tango. So then why again are we kanasing the moicher, not the lekech? So Mustaber kol heichad ika isura hasam kansinan. Wherever the money is, we go after the money. Wherever the money is, that's where we kanas. So therefore the moicher, the seller who now has the money in his hands, so we're going to kanas him. Okay. TA23. Halokech behema tamea b'mais meiser sheni madina. A person purchases a behema tamea with mais meiser sheni. What's the din? So im moicher nimsa. If the seller is found yaser damlim kaiman, then it goes back. The imbayrach, but if he runs away, yachol halokech kenegdim b'Yerushalayim, then the lokeach is able to eat it and get in Yerushalayim. So is TA23. TA23. So it's the chiddush of kishabayrach when the moicher is not around. But otherwise, again, when it comes to the case of behema tameya, the din is ein loichen behema tameya avadim karkos b'mos meiser sheni. If you're Yerushalayim, the im lokach yoichel kenegdan. So in that case, the lokech is allowed to eat it. However, if it is keneged it, however, TA23, if the moicher ran away, so then in that situation, the din is in baruch yoichel halokech kenegdan. If the moicher is there, so yaser damim kaiman, then it has to be returned. Okay, fine. Let's see the next Mishnah. This is actually pretty easy. Next couple blot. Says the Masnisin, Hamakadish, person is Makadish a woman with Arla. Now all of these things are considered to be Asr Bahana, or for that matter, B'Klei Karim, the forbidden mixtures of a vineyard, B'Shor Niskel, an ox that's to be gored, Ube Eglo Arufa, the status of a homicide that people don't know who the killer is, so you bring an Eglo Arufa, B'Tzipayra Mitzayra, the birds of the Mitzayra, Uvasar Nazir, the hair of the Nazir, which is cut, Uperet Upeter Chamor, the redeeming of the donkey, Ubasa B'Chalav, Basa B'Chalav, as we know, is also Asr Bahana, V'chul Shenishchatu B'Azara, if you had a non-kosher, a non holy animal that was shechted in the Beis Hamikdash, and you gave any of these things to a woman in Mukadeshas. Again, we're going to see why all these cases are a case of Isser Hana, and therefore it's not a good Kiddushin, because she can't get Hana from it, so it's not worth a pruta. Machron v'kiddush b'demei Mukadeshas. Now, let's say you sold it, and then somehow that works, right? And the even though it's all this is Aser, somehow now you have money, so that Isser does not go onto the money, so therefore it is a good Kiddushin. Again, we'll have to understand the Seifa next time. Says the Gemara. So ba'ara minolan, how do we know the arl is Aser b'hana the sanya? Areilim l'yachel, when it's something which is arl, don't eat it. So ainli el Isser achil, it says eating. Hana minayin shul yehena mimeno, hana you can't get hana. Lo yitzba bo, you can't die with it. Lo yadlik was in air, you can't kindle a flame. Talmud arolatem arlasel rabas kula. Okay. How do we know b'klei kerem and nolan? How do we know that's also hana? Amerchiski amerkra pen tikdash becomes forbidden. Pen tukad ish. Rabashi Omer pen kodesh. It's comparable to the din of that which is kodesh, like hektish. So ma typhus ma kodesh. Typhus as dama v'yotzel chulin. So I've called kerem typhus as dama v'yotzel chulin. Ela machvarta k'reskia. Can't learn it like hektish, because hektish could be redeemed and it goes to chulin. Unlike this. So therefore, the answer is just because of pen tikdash, and the drasha is pen tukadesh. Shor niskol. This we're going to spend some time on. So menayin. How do you know a shor niskol? This ox that is to be killed. That's also bahana the sanya. Mimash mishnah, when the pasuk says sakal yisakal ashor, it's supposed to be stoned. Any odesh in neveilhi. We already know it's a nevela, and nevela sur bachila. So ma talmud loimer lo yachal as basar. What does it mean? Don't eat its meat. Of course you can't eat its meat. You didn't shecht it. It's a nevela. You stoned it. So obviously you can't eat it. So magadacha sheim shachatu achar shenigmar dinoi asa bachila. Let's say it was already gemar din that we're going to do shchita, you're going to do skill on it, but instead of it becoming shor niskal, you immediately shecht it kehilcha sai. But since you did it, you're still not allowed to eat its meat. So b'hana menayin, how do we know that's also aser b'hana shor niskal? Tavulor mubal shor naki, that he's clean. My mashma. So how do we see it from this pasuk? So Shimon ben Zayma Omer Ka'adim Sha'imel Chavero, like a person says, Yatsa Pliny Nakim Nechasav, he's clean from his possessions, Ve'ein Lo Behem Hana Shel Klum, I'm clean, I'm out, I have nothing. So Mamaydahai Lo Ye'achel Es Besarai, how do you know this pasuk of do not eat meat is Lehech the Shachet Lachar Shnei Gmardinu Hudasa. How do it's coming to tell you, we're talking about it was after Gemar Din, and then the animal was supposed to be stoned, and then instead you shechted it. How do you know that's what the pasuk is talking about? Dilma heichad is shachad lachar shenig Gemar Din ushari. Maybe taka, if you did it that way, maybe it is mutar to eat its meat. Bahal lo ye'achel. So what does lo ye'achel come to teach? Heichad the salke miskail hu dasa. It's somewhere where it's already stoned. Ukravavai. Whenever you find the words lo ye'achel, that lashon of not eating, lo soichel or v'lo sochlu, any of those three languages, echad iser achil v'echad iser hana, it always means that not only can you not eat it, even because that's what the pasuk says, but if you use any of those language, it's also saying it's aser b'hana. Ashi pardocha kasev, until the pasuk excludes the extra part l'cha b'neveila. We know when it comes to a nevela, there is an exception. That when it comes to a nevela, it's l'kev tashlichanoisa. It's mutar b'hana. So therefore, in that situation, any other thing is also b'hana. So therefore, we see actually from lo ye'achel, his drasha, is that it's something that this is aser b'hana. So why do we learn out lo ye'achel Masara to tell you? We're talking about a situation where you shechted it after its gemar din. Maybe if you did that, maybe you could eat its meat. But it's just coming to tell you that an animal that is stoned, in addition to not being able to eat it, which is a davar pashut, is also aser b'hana. Where it says, "Hanimil heicham the naflan iser achila lo ye'achel." That's only if you learn out the iser of not eating from lo ye'achel. Hacha iser achila misakel nafka. We already learned it out from the notion of stoning it. If you want to tell me that this pasuk is actually saying you can't hana from that, so niftav kro lo yihane. So let it say explicitly, do not derive benefit. Inami lo yi'achel. So just say lo yi'achel. Es besaro lomli. Let's have to add es besaro. It must be avagav the shachta kein basar aser. So it must be coming to tell you that the term is going on achila when you shecht it after the gemar din. So maskamar zutra v'eima hanimi lehecha de badak sor the shachat ba. Maybe we're talking about instead of using a knife to shecht, we're talking about a case where we used a rock to shecht from it. The mechsika skila, and it has the appearance like it's skila because you're killing it with a stone. But if you shecht it with a knife, maybe the din is different. Remember it says midi sakin baraisiksiv. Doesn't mention anything about a knife in the Torah when it comes to shechita. Therefore, it doesn't make any difference how you shecht it. Din should be the same. But tanya b'chol sheichtin, you can shecht it with anything. Ben besor, ben beschuchas, with glass, ben b'krumas shulkana, with a reed. So there's no distinction. So where it says v'hashad nafko and isar achil of isar hanater vayim lo yi'achel, since according to the sheet, and this is brought down at great length in the second paragraph of Pesachim, that everything is learned out from lo yi'achel, not to eat or get hana. So hi bal shor naki l'mayasa. So then what does bal shor naki come to tell you? Because bal shor naki we thought meant that's how we want isra hana. But if we're already learning it out from lo yi'achel, so then what's another possibility of what we're learning out from bal shor naki? Right? It says l'hanas oyroi. Not only can you not get hana from the meat of the animal, but also its hides. Maybe it's dafka, only the basar is also, but not the hides. So therefore, that's what's coming to add. So lahanach tanoi, according to the tanoim, the mafgile haibal ashor naki lachatzi kaifer l'dmei vladais hanas oiro menolahu. So according to some, they can't really learn out this pasuk to tell you hanas oiroi, the hides, because they already learned it to teach us other dinim. Chatzi kaifer. What is that? Says Rashi. Shim hargas adam. If in this situation kills a person, naki mechatzi kaifer. In that situation, you're exempt from paying half of kaifer. Biafa gab de muid mishalem kaifer shalim. Even though a shor muid, a wild animal, like let's say gored 3 times, or even once with a regel or a shane, that you have to pay full damages. Avga the muid mishalem kaifer shalim, and if it would kill, it would be a kaifer shalim. Lo amrin and tam yishom chatzi kaifer ki heicha de gabi nezikim yishom chatzi nezek. So in other words, like this: if we're dealing with a shor muid, they pay full damages, nezek shalim, and if they kill, then it's kaifer shalim. However, when it comes to a tam, we say that even though it's true, there's a din of chatzi kaifer. Even though there's a din, when it comes to damages, there's a din of chatzi nezek. If it gores with a horn the first couple of times, you only pay half the damages. So maybe also you only have to pay chatzi kaifer. No, it's coming to tell you, ubal shor naki, he doesn't pay any of this. He doesn't pay if it's a muid that kills this shor hamuid. There's no din kaifer. Also the mei vlados, if it kills a fetus. Im nagav isha hara, if it gores a pregnant woman, v'yatzi haladeha in mishalom demei vlodos labal. They don't pay for the value. K'moshe adam hanoigef mishalom k'neksiv anashi anish. So in this case, you would not pay. So Gemara says, so in that case, how do they learn hanas aro? Our answer is me'es b'saro. The fact that it says es, that extra word is coming to include not only the basar but also the hides. So which is es hatafel libsodoi, that which is secondary to the meat. The idach, as we continue to nun zayin and aleph, es lo darsh, it's not considered to be a riboy, and therefore you don't have to learn out. You can't learn out anything from it. Therefore, they learn out from the other drasha to tell you the or, and not from s. How do we say zamachlokas whether you can darshan from an s? Kedesanya Shimon hamasoimi, some say v'yarmela Nechemia hamasuni. Haya darish kol esen shebatayra. Darshan every single es in the Torah. Givan shegil esen shemakachatira. Once he got to the words esen shemakachatira for Hashem, pirish. Armel tamid of Rabbi kol esen shedarashta mate'elan. What are you going to do of all these Essen. So and after, why did you have to stop? Says Rashi, Shiare l'Rabbi shum davar l'shavos l'mara makom. We're supposed to fear Hashem. There's no one else that we're supposed to fear on the same level as Hashem. So it must be, he said, it can't be correct, these Essen. So Amalahen, Kashem shekibalti schar al dorisha, kach kibalti al prisha. I received reward for learning, I'm going to receive reward for stepping back, which again is a tremendous point, is that what he's saying is that sometimes when you have a life's work, and then all of a sudden it's disproved, you don't want to accept that it's being disproved. But he says, no, if I find that it's not correct, so then after all, it's okay. Ad sheba Rabbi Kiva v'limid es Hashem kachatiru rabos tamid chachamim. Rabbi Kiva learned afterwards that Hashem Elokecha must be coming to include Talmidei Chachamim. So how come no one else could figure this out? The way I like to say it is that Rabbi Akiva, upon seeing Shimon HaMasaini, or maybe it was Nehemiah HaMasaini, that he withdrew from his entire life's work, that shows that he has no ego. That shows that this is an amazing person. That's someone to fear. That's a Talmid Chacham, and therefore that is a great person. That's someone that you should show unbelievable respect and awe for such a person. The willingness to be able to just step away from their life's work, and therefore he was able to say, you know what? It has to be that S means something. It's L'Rabos Talmid Chachamim. But again, the point of this being brought down is it's possible that the word S may not actually be drasha worthy. And therefore, it's possible when it says es besaro, it's not necessarily coming to include anything. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's look at question 12. Ksiv, sakeli sakel hashor v'lo yachel es besaro bal hashor naki. What do we learn out from these extra words v'lo yachel es besaro and from bal hashor naki? It's a hard question. So we learn out v'lo yachel es besaro, possibly that if you shechted it after Gemar Din, that's Asmana, and Baal Shor Naki is coming to tell us either Hanas Oiro or to pater from Chatzi Kaifer and Demei Vladais. Okay. Question, not TA, question TB24. Ksiv sakli sakli shar v'yochel b'sar bal shar naki mat nilman mikro yiser v'yochel b'sar mikro bal shar naki. So it sounds like pretty similar. V'yochel b'saro maglucha sheim shachlu achar shenigmar dino asbahana bal shar naki oil hanos oiroi or shapat b'chatzi kaifer udmei v'ladais adkan.